Welcome one and all tacticians to yet another video. This time I'm going to be talking about the two moves U-Turn and Volt Switch. I think they're the only two moves that actually do this. I may be wrong. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research because, I'm an idiot and I can't remember all the moves off the top of my head. But what these two moves do is after the Pokemon makes their attack, the user rushes back to switch places with a party member in waiting. That's what these two moves do. They deal damage, and the Pokemon instantly retreats back to the ball, and another Pokemon in the party or so waiting in the line can be swapped in freely. So these are like two moves that people really hate it when people use them because they think they're cheap moves to deal damage and get out of dodge. But people fail to understand that that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to deal damage and get out of dodge. They're used as scouting moves. They're used to deal some damage and basically just set up the field so that you have an advantage over your opponent. Your opponent can't swap in another Pokemon unless they, sacrifice a turn and to give your opponent give you the advantage. That is the failing of not having this move, and the benefit to have this move. You can deal damage if your Pokemon is fast enough and get away before your opponent has a chance to retaliate. And if your opponent is going to retaliate, for example with a super effective move, let's say my little Jolteon here is staring down the barrel of an Earthquake from a Garchomp. I don't want my let's see, well, I can't really do that because then the move wouldn't work. Let's just pretend that it's Salamence that uses Earthquake then. Yeah, Salamence that uses an Earthquake. This move won't deal a lot of damage, but it's gonna at least let me keep my Jolteon in the fight and, deal some chip damage, maybe get rid of a Focus Sash if they're not a Mega Salamence. That's the benefit of having this move. I can swap in a Pokemon like, say, a Grass type, for example, or a Flying type, and one will resist the move effectively, and the other one will just outright nullify the damage. That is the benefit of having this move. But what else can we use this move for? Well, I'm actually about to show you. So in 1, 2, 3, boop! Alright, and once again, boop! Here we are on the battle tree. So I'm just doing this as a little bit of a test example. You see this move most prevalently, in singles, where you don't really know what your opponent's strategy is. Like you can easily spot in doubles. So right now, I see my opponent has a Haxorus. But at the same time, I don't know what he's going to go for. I'm just pretending that this NPC, I have no idea what this NPC is going to go for, because I honestly don't know if it's the battle tree, and the battle tree will do whatever it wants. But I'm going to go for this U-Turn. So I'm going to deal some damage, and I'm going to get a critical hit damage, and you can't really see any of the battle animations, because I was shiny chaining. But I have done a lot of damage thanks to that critical hit. The Haxorus is weak, and I've safely avoided any damage because my Alexandra, my Sarina, is Choice Scarf. So she was able to outspeed, get away, and I'm gonna go in with Vivi, my Salamence. This is gonna do two things. One, it's gonna reduce my opponent's stats, and three, nullify whatever that taunt was gonna do. Now I get to go for my Dragon Pulse. I get to Mega and go for my Dragon Pulse. And so this is just one of the advantages that the U-Turn and the Volt Switches will do for you. They allow you to scout your opponent, allow you to see what their first Pokemon is going to do. For all I know, that Salamence could have been going for a Dragon Dance. Or not that Salamence, that Haxorus. It could have been going for a Dragon Dance, and I would have been in a bit of a bind. But because I was able to U-Turn out and get an Intimidate off, if the Haxorus had been going for a Dragon Dance, well, it didn't get any of the benefits from the Dragon Dance, except for the speed. So I nullified whatever that strategy, if that had been the NPC's strategy, if it actually really used strategy, then I could have avoided that. And that's just one benefit of why people use the Volt Switch and U-Turn. So once again, I'm going to be going for another way you can use this use this move, and why people should really make use of this a little bit more often than what people give it credit for. So 1, 2, 3, boop! And boop! Here we are once again, where this time we're going into a doubles battle. I'm just going to demonstrate what you can actually do with this here, U-turn and Volt Switch strategy. So, my opponent, this youngster, he's going to be leading off with a Blaziken and Exceligor. Very, very fast Pokemon. And Terran here, he's going to be my Jolteon, and I'm just going for standard doubles just to demonstrate what's happening here. I'm going to set up a weather. Now, I don't know what my opponent is going to do, but I can, make a very estimated guess as to what I can do here. I'm going to set up the Tailwind, and now that I've seen what my opponent's Pokemon are, I can go for a Volt Switch. He's going to go for a Giga Drain. That's going to bring, Philip down. But it's not too horrible. And now I can send out or get out of here with Terran, my Jolteon. And since I've seen what he's got, I know he's got no electric type moves. He's not gonna use like a Thunderbolt onto Philip. I can send out one of my other Pokemon. I'm gonna send out Coralina, my water type, to take advantage of the rain that I've set up. That's gonna hurt, but it's not horrible. Now a Tailwind is established. Now, obviously, this team could have been a little bit more effective because, one of them isn't even at level 50 and going into the battle tree here. It doesn't act, standard, let's see, first ones, regular double battles, not the super double battles. Don't actually set your Pokemon to level 50 so you can bring in a bunch of level 100s and legendaries, etc. that you otherwise couldn't bring to the battle tree. So I'm just gonna pretend that I'm gonna sacrifice Philip. See if I can bait him into taking down Philip. Okay, well, now I've seen what happens. He's gonna knock out Philip. So that's a waste of a turn. But because I was able to U-turn, or not U-turn, but Volt Switch out, I was able to analyze what my opponent's strategy was. So the Blaziken is really fast and got some heavy hits, not mega or not hidden ability. So I can safely go for these attacks. Rest in peace, Audra. And yeah, this is once again just demonstrating what I can do. So for this team, the way I had my Volt Switch set up and my team set up, I had it set up so that depending on what my opponent had, like say if they had an electric attack, and they weren't going to target my Jolteon because they might have anticipated, I don't know, they might have anticipated, like what am I trying to say? If they could have anticipated that I might have been Voltador, so they would have targeted Philip my Pelipper. If I could figure that out, if I could guess that they were going to go for an electric attack, I could have swapped in Audra. Let's see, what's her species name? I keep forgetting. Not Luxray. I just keep forgetting. I could have either way. I could have swapped in Audra. Forgive me. I can't remember all my Pokemon species names. I remember them by their names. I could have swapped in Audra. She has Lightning Rod. She could have taken that She could have taken that electric attack, saved Philip from a potentially KOing move, minus the fact that he had a Focus Sash, and powered herself up. At the same time, he would have had one turn to set up a Tailwind, and he would have been able to stay up to protect against, like, say, either protect himself or protect against a multi-hitting move like Earthquake from another Pokemon, and she would have been able to take advantage of the rain using her Thunder attack, which would never miss in a rainstorm, or in a rain setting. But in any case, I digress. This is pretty much how you want to use your Volt Switches and U-turns. You want to use them to scout your opponent and set up the field in a way that your team can make use of in some fashion. Whether it be setting up a weather effect. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate that in a bit. So I'm just going to end this battle really quick. I just lost my U-turn, but I don't think it matters at this point. I will see you all in a bit. 1, 2, 3, boop! And boop! So here we are. Once again, this is going to be our last demonstration of what we can use U-turn and Volt Switch for. In this case, setting up a terrain, or not setting up a terrain, but setting up a weather effect for a Pokemon we already have on the field. Now, you're probably wondering, MP, why do you have a Leafeon on the field as well as a Sarina? Well, I'm going to demonstrate that right now. So just give me a few seconds to actually prepare this up. Now, I don't see what my opponent has on the field or what he's got in reserve. But I do see he's got a Slacking, and I do see he's got a Pile of Sand. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to U-turn into the Slacking. My Leafeon has a Chlorophyll, so she can make very good use of the sun if I can just get it up. So first things first, let's U-turn into the Slacking, deal some damage. If it's got a Focus Sash, it's gone now. And now we can send in Mia, my Ninetales. So now Mia's bringing in the Drought. So next turn I'll be able to make use of the Drought and the Sunlight for Chlorophyll. Rock Slide's not exactly something I want to deal with here. But I'm going to have to deal with it. Shadow Ball is going to connect to Mia, so that's going to be the end of my Ninetales. Short-lived battle for my Ninetales, but she got the Sunlight out, so that's pretty good for me. Because here's why. The Sunlight is now on my side of the field, so my Pokemon are faster. And because the Slacking on the field, is going to be activating its Truant ability this turn, I can make good use of that fact because I can easily target down the Pile of Sand with Lila, my Leafeon. Oh, that's going to stink. And Kindle can take on the Slacking with the Flare Blitz. Just have to hope that thing doesn't have Earthquake. Nope, it's going for a Shadow Ball. Alright, so that is going to be the end of that Slacking. Now we have to deal with a Snorlax in this fight. But same thing. I'm just going to go for a Leaf Blade into the Pile of Sand and use Kindle to take down the Snorlax. And this is just another reason why I make use of the U-turn on some of my Pokemon, and why people should really make use of U-turn and Volt Switch more often than, they realize. The ability to deal damage, get out of a fight, and then be able to... Wow, that did a heck of a lot of damage. And be able to just get out of dodge before your opponent can deal damage back is just something you can't give your opponent. You can't take that for granted, people. But that's pretty much going to be the end of my demonstration and how you should be using your U-turns and not U-turn Leaf Blades, but U-turn and Volt Switches. Being able to damage your opponent and then switch out safely That's something every trainer wishes they had in the heat of a battle. Because a lot of people don't want to, swap a Pokemon in. Especially if it's going to be taking a massive hit. Without being able to return that damage in kind in some way. So the ability to U-turn out, get in, deal some chip damage, even if it's minor, as long as it does its job. Which is either 1, scouting out what your opponent does, 2, being able to swap your Pokemon in safely, and then being able to scout what their strategy is. Like, are they trying to set up? Are they going to be setting up some rocks or something? You don't know. But the U-turn will enable you to at least protect one of your Pokemon, and be able to deal some minor damage in return. And so this is going to be the end of the battle, and as soon as I finish this opponent off, I'm going to end this video. So, I hope you all learned a thing or two. Hope you all learned how you can make use of the Volt Switch and the U-turn. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye!